All right.
And we're ready.
What's going on, man?
Are you ready to argue?
Yeah, something like that. We got
Don't hold the mic up that high. Can you tell those sound waves are clipping? Shout out to clipping.
shout out clipping. What's going on, everyone? So basically, the Jake and I are going to do a podcast, and we're kind of getting the kinks out and stuff.
Yeah.
And we had some ideas that we're sort of ruffling around with, and we thought this was going to be a good one to just kind of start off with, I guess. We kind of saw this post on Instagram of like the brackets for different songs and different artists and whatnot. And one of our favorite artists is Brockhampton, so we thought it would be fun to make our own bracket and to kind of go through it and see what hot takes we have about certain songs going up against certain songs and whatnot, and kind of how that all played out. But yeah, that's kind of how we got to this.
I didn't realize how hard it was gonna be to make a bracket. Not even what to put in it. Like how many different bracket websites just didn't work correctly.
Yeah. So what we did, like, because there's already a bunch of Brockhampton brackets out there, but like in order for just convenience for our own list and stuff, we wanted to make our own. So Jake decided to try to like look up different brackets, like bracket generators on websites and whatnot. And they just were like we couldn't fit
pain in the butt.
we couldn't fit all of the songs in and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
so
there was a limit.
We chose not to do Brockhampton's first album, and then
All American Trash.
yeah, All American Trash, and then they have Saturation 1, 2, and 3, and all of those have little interludes on them, like Skit 1, Cinema 1, and Scene 1. And we chose not to do any of those because they're interludes, they're not real songs. And then Iridescence has Loophole, and we chose to include Loophole just for to make it easier on ourselves, because that still leaves 70 tracks to put into a bracket system.
Yeah, we weren't 100% sure how to make like a buy, because we were gonna like originally make like
There's a big car driving by. I don't know if it's gonna pick up on the recording.
Yeah, we originally were gonna make a spot for a buy, but then we were trying to figure that out, and we couldn't really figure that out. So we just decided to put in Loophole. We figured that was one of the skit songs that had a little bit more substance to it anyway.
It's got a lot. I mean, not that the others don't have production, but I feel like there's more substance to Loophole, like you said.
Absolutely. So that was kind of our process going about it. So kind of like Jake said, we did not use All American Trash, and we did not include the demo box set because we don't have direct access
We don't
to the
own
box
that.
set.
Yeah, it's only officially released songs.
Their studio albums.
So like the demos aren't there. Nothing leaked from Puppy. like none of that stuff.
None of like the random singles on YouTube.
As
like
much as I
Land and
wish we
Follow
could
and
include
shit like
"Let's
that.
Get Married" because I love that song, we can't because it's not an officially released song.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's basically how this came about. Basically, what we did is we made this bracket. We printed it off. Jake and I'm Spencer, by the way. I never.
Oh,
said
we
my
didn't
name.
introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jake.
Yeah, and I'm Spencer.
We're roommates. We've lived together for 2 school years now. It feels weird to say 2 years because it's not really 2 years, but like it's 2 years.
Right. And like we both essentially have had admirations to do a podcast before. And we figured, what better time than when we're being quarantined,
Yeah.
So like
Shout out to the coronavirus finally motivating me to make a podcast.
But yeah, that's we've lived together for 2 years. We both have a deep love for music and stuff, so like we figured that this would be pretty fun, and yeah.
What better time?
What better time, honestly.
So the way this bracket worked, the other problem I ran into with these bracket websites is they only let you put in up to 68 songs. And since we had 70 songs, we actually divided the bracket up. So we have 2 separate brackets. And then, so the 2 winners of the brackets will actually only be like the semifinalists.
Right. And If it's like kind of confusing, because for me, like it would be kind of confusing not being able to see it. We're gonna lay out like this is bracket 1, and these are the songs that are going toe to toe.
Yeah.
And discuss what we think about
Why
those
we
songs
chose
and
what we
stuff.
did.
Why we chose what we chose.
Yeah.
So Jake and I have already filled out our own individual brackets, but we're going to be discussing each pick.
So Spencer and I filled out our own. We're going to discuss them, and then I printed out another one for us to build together to try and decide on, like, come to an agreement on which is better.
Come to a consensus.
Yeah, come to a consensus on what truly is just the best.
Yeah, and basically the other element to this is there were a bunch of songs that went toe to toe with one another that, like, I genuinely felt guilty and felt bad about leaving them behind. So we kind of like came up with a star system. We just starred them on our brackets, and that, like, when Jake and I were talking about it, we were trying to figure out the criteria for it, and what clicked is when. Like what I just said, like we felt guilty leaving a song behind.
If it lost and you felt guilty that it lost, but the song it lost to was just so great, then it deserves a star. So we have a star system. They're like they're the runner-ups basically. They're honorable mentions is a better way to put it.
Yeah, essentially. And that's the thing. Like this list isn't concrete in what our favorite Brockhampton songs are, because like if a certain song went up against a different song, then the results may be
it's
different.
just the way the bracket happened to generate it.
Right. So, without further ado, I think we're ready to go.
Pull out bracket number 1, BH songs.
Let me take a sip of my coffee real quick, goddamn.
Shout out to Tree City. Yeah, you
shout
want to
out
talk
Tree
about your
City
order?
Coffee, Kent, Ohio. Got that lavender cold brew in my belly.
I got a caramel macchiato. Ooh, our neighbors are walking by. Why are so many people out?
Yeah, by the way, y'all, Jake and I have been up.
Spencer and I haven't slept yet.
Haven't really slept. So
I had a script writing assignment that I worked on from 9 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. And then Spencer and I were talking about music and a podcast, and we're just jumping right in.
So
we went and got coffee. Now we're just going for it. We're just gonna lean into it.
All right. So round 1. This is like. So we essentially had 4 songs, 2 in brackets of 2 that had to go toe to toe because of the number placements and stuff. So the first 2 songs that are going toe to toe, and I actually have a star next to this one.
I do. I also put a star next to this one. The very first matchup.
Yeah, the very first one. And the 2 songs are 1999 Wildfire and Berlin. So 1999 Wildfire was part of the singles that they dropped right after Amir left, and Berlin is off of Iridescence. So Jake, why don't you go ahead and get this rolling?
Of the 2, I picked 1999 Wildfire.
Okay, I did too.
You did too? Okay. I immediately put a star by it because I just felt so guilty kicking out Berlin immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was kind of my thought process too, because like originally whenever Iridescence came out, like I wasn't super into Berlin, but like the more I listened to it, like the more the production just like it's so abrasive. I think and stuff.
Iridescence creeps up on you.
Absolutely.
I don't know if this is a hot take or a normal take. I don't think many people liked it. But the more I listen to Iridescence, the more I really appreciate Iridescence.
It definitely doesn't get the respect it deserves, I feel. But yeah, I ended up picking Wildfire just because I think it's just like I go back to whenever it was released.
Yeah.
And that time was just it just fit the time so well.
Yeah.
And it also signified like Brockhampton being able to get past like the
to grow and transform.
Yeah, and honestly, just like Dom's verse going into Bareface's verse is just so dope to me. But like I said, Berlin is definitely one of my favorite tracks off of Iridescence and stuff. So it definitely deserves. It definitely didn't deserve to be out in the first round, but that's how this goes sometimes, you know. So. Do you want to go on to the next one?
Well, I was just gonna say my other thing about Wildfire was just there's a lot of songs where sometimes there's a lot of Brockhampton songs that I hear sometimes and I think like this is the Brockhampton song. Like this is not that there are songs where everyone has weak features, but there's some songs that they have where everyone just brought their A game and just like no one's carrying the team. Everyone's doing such a great job.
Yeah.
And I think Wildfire is one of those, but especially Joba's verse.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
That's another one that's like this Joba's verse in particular is one I go back to. I don't know. I hope that big truck that just drove by didn't get picked up on the mic.
Yeah, but like, yeah, to your point, I think that everyone sounds like themselves on it. Like it just sounds natural, you know? So, whereas even comparative to Berlin, you know what I mean? Like I felt that was like a step kind of like in a different direction in terms of like some of their tones and whatnot, in terms of like their delivery and stuff. Like, but yeah, shout out to Berlin.
Shout out to Berlin. It didn't deserve to be knocked out in the first round, but
not.
That means Berlin is is my first and Spencer's first honorable mention.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So the next one was Ginger versus Jover.
This one wasn't hard for me.
This one wasn't hard for me either.
Jover wins it.
When I was doing my bracket, I had such a hard time deciding between 1999 Wildfire and Berlin. Like, I had to listen to both the songs again. I sat in my room for about, 5 to 10 minutes with my head in my hands. Couldn't decide. Finally made my decision. I get to the next one. It's Ginger and Jover, and I decide just immediately. It's like, oh, cool, Jover. Yeah. That decision was pretty simple.
Yeah, so, I definitely... It's not that I don't like Ginger. You know, I think it's a fun one. I personally, I
need to fill out our together bracket. For the first one,
I personally love it when Brockhampton gets those feel good songs out, you know, especially when they're a little bit more vulnerable. But Ginger also kind of just misses the mark for me at some points. But
yeah, it kind of sucks that in my opinion, it's not my opinion. It's the track the album that the track is the other way around. The track the album is named after.
Yeah,
and I just don't think it's the strongest track on the album.
Right, absolutely.
Especially it's not stronger compared to Jover.
Oh my God! Well, that's the thing. I love my story the first time I heard Jover because it either dropped the day before the album dropped or it was a few hours. I think it was going to drop at midnight, and then they dropped the music video for it 5 hours before or something like that.
I remember you talking about that.
And I was going to, I was actually getting out of a class. I was in the business building at Kent State University, and I have Brockhampton's tweet notifications set up on my phone, and I saw that they put the video out, and I was like, dang, okay, I'm going to listen to it. And I remember just sitting on a bench in the business building and listening to it. And then once it got to Joba's verse, I was just what's this man on right now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the beats sounded like it was going to start to switch up, and then Merlin's part came in, and then dude, and it just got me so excited for Iridescence. And I think it needed that. I think Iridescence needed that excitement and that push. And it was just such a good choice for a single because that song represents the attitude and the feel of a lot of that album, you know. And I just will never forget being in the business building and just almost dropping my phone,
right?
After that shit dropped, you know. But good stuff, man.
So I think we agree that I think we agree that Ginger lost.
Absolutely,
Jover is moving on.
100%.
Jover is moving on, which brings us to round 2, which is all of the songs, not just the first 2 that had to be situated first. So, bracket number 1 in round 2: Tanya versus 1999 Wildfire.
Personally, my pick was Tanya.
Really?
Yeah.
I picked Wildfire.
Yeah, so Tanya is one of those songs Tanya is one of my favorite Brockhampton songs in their whole discography. And that was another one of those songs that dropped. It dropped that same summer. but they didn't have a studio release. It was just on. I think they were on Fallon. And they did that, and like I remember watching that, and I was just like, "Holy cow!" Like it's one of their most vulnerable songs, and
I think a lot of Iridescence is.
Yeah, absolutely, and like I just love I love the piano at the beginning, and I think everyone that's on that track, like kind of how you talked about how Wildfire. Like it's just very genuine.
It is a Brockhampton
It's
song.
a Brockhampton song. Yeah. I feel that, but like whenever I listen to Tanya, I just feel like I'm like helping them out individually. Like I want to give them all a hug.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what? That's fair.
And stuff.
That's fair.
I definitely like obviously like I love Wildfire. I wouldn't have gotten past Berlin. But like I just think like Tanya has that special place for me.
I'm not gonna lie to you. We're gonna have a lot of conversations about Wildfire in my bracket.
That's fine. That is fine. But no, so you picked Wildfire.
Yeah, that's our first. We already disagree, and it's our third.
That's a hard one.
Versus.
That's a hard one though. So what? Now we gotta
come up with.
Give me a take for Wildfire.
I mean, I think I'm just gonna stand by that. Like, it's if I were to like tell someone, hey, you should check out Brockhampton. I think like one of the first songs I would recommend is Wildfire.
And that's what I
mean, like in my mind, I brought this up to Spencer earlier. Last year when Spencer and I were in like when we lived together in our dorm, Spencer would play music while he was like going to sleep, and I don't really sleep all that often, so I would just hear the music, which was fine because we have a very similar music taste. And so there are certain Brockhampton songs that I associate with like Spencer's going to sleep right now, but I'm gonna hear Brockhampton music, and like all of the '90s songs, like. Yeah. But especially Wildfire for some reason. I think it always circles back to Joba's verse. Mm-hmm. I think Joba's verse was the first one I like paid attention to in that song that really like roped me in.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's I'd definitely be willing to say that for like our consensus bracket, I would be willing to put Wildfire on there just because of your point. Like I would if I was trying to get someone into Brockhampton.
Yeah.
I would probably show them Wildfire over Tanya.
Yeah.
Because like there are a couple of those songs that are like super personal and stuff that like once you know the band.
Yes, yeah, we talked about that earlier. There are a lot of songs where the members of Brockhampton, the vocalists of Brockhampton, are opening up, and something like Tanya it means a lot, but when you're first listening to Brockhampton, you're gonna think like, well, these guys are just like venting. I don't know who they are yet, so I don't know these problems yet.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, I'm cool.
Yeah,
I'm cool
I tried not to base my decisions off of if I'm going to tell someone about Brockhampton, this is the song I'm going to suggest.
Yeah.
That was like if all else failed argument. That was what I went with.
Absolutely.
Like Spencer and I kind of talked about like sometimes if we couldn't decide on a song, we would remove it from the context of the album and see if it held up. Wildfire doesn't really get that chance because it wasn't really on an album.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. So are we, for our consensus bracket, are we going to move Wildfire up?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
All right, I'm writing Wildfire down.
I am cool with that. All right. So the next set of songs that we have going up against each other are Victor Roberts from Ginger and 1998 Truman. What you got?
I picked Victor Roberts.
I picked Truman.
You did?
Yeah, and this one was a hard one. It didn't get a star for me, but like it was definitely hard to pick. I just like my thought process was like Truman has essentially everyone in it, as opposed to Victor Roberts that has Victor Roberts, Bareface, and Ryan Beatty, and only one of those people is in the band. Is technically within the group. Not to say like Victor Roberts.
So I'll be honest. Like so on my bracket, it ended up being Wildfire versus Victor for the next round, but Victor loses to Wildfire.
Okay.
I loved Victor Roberts, but and I'm going to make this point again later for a different song, it's barely a Brockhampton song.
Yeah.
But I loved the opening to it. The first line he says is, my Power Rangers couldn't protect me from the LAPD kick door. And so I talked to Spencer earlier. I love when specifically rappers, but songs in general, tell stories that are like clear and concise. You can like deeply listen to it. I love when that happens. And I also love when these aren't stories these are not stories I can relate to. This is someone telling me about their life. He lived a very different life than I did. Mm-hmm. And I get to hear it and hear like the struggles that Victor Roberts had and stuff.
Absolutely.
But you know what? I think I kind of argued myself out of it because at the end of the day, it's barely a Brockhampton song. But the end of it with Bareface and Ryan Beatty,
it's beautiful.
It
overall,
really is beautiful.
I mean, even with like the first verse and stuff. Like, I mean, you touched upon Victor Roberts and his storytelling. Like,
yeah,
and that's what's so cool about that track is like that's Victor Roberts essentially like his first step on the scene.
Yeah, so they premiered that. They basically premiered the whole album on their live stream for Friday Therapy, mm-hmm. and very shortly afterwards, Dom McLennan from Brockhampton tweeted like, Victor Roberts is someone I met playing like Xbox Live games with, mm-hmm. and Victor Roberts was, and like everyone loved him as far as I can tell, yeah. And Victor took that like the criticism and like everyone's compliments very well, and he was like, Brockhampton just birthed a new rapper, mm-hmm. and I loved that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Granted, I haven't kept up with anything he's done since then.
Yeah,
but
that's it. Like you touched on his storytelling. Like some people are like anyone can talk about like a story and talk about themselves, but whenever it's compelling enough to like gain your interest, like you know that you're a good storyteller, and that's like I got that from Victor Roberts on the first listen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. With that being said, I think that Truman is one of those songs that you can go to and say that's a Brockhampton song.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Like, and like kind of like to your point and kind of what I touched upon earlier, everyone's in that, and like it's just a good one to go to. Like, and like Jesus Christ, man. Like, I mean, Merlin has a really cool like I would say it's like kind of like. It's not really a chorus, but it's kind of a chorus. He says the same shit.
It's a chorus. We'll call it a chorus.
And
he's the hook.
He's the hook. And then even like when Kevin comes in with his like, don't talk back. Like it's fun, it's hype. But then like, you get into it and the beat kind of switches up whenever Dom comes in. And Dom's verse is like dope as shit. And the same thing that happens with Matt and has Bareface like, closing out the track with his angelic vocals and whatnot. So that's essentially why I picked it over.
I mean, those angelic vocals are also on Victor Roberts.
You're right. Absolutely.
I told this to Spencer earlier. There was a day I was walking and I was listening to Brockhampton and Victor Roberts came on. And the ending of the song with Bareface and Ryan Beatty genuinely brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
Because it's so beautiful.
Absolutely.
But I will say for our consensus bracket, we can move Truman along.
Cool. Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. That means the first match in round 3 is going to be Wildfire versus Truman. But we still have all of round 2 to get through.
Well, I was going to say, there are definitely going to be some that are shorter talking about than others.
We might have to do...
I was going to say, we could do this one...
I was about to say, we might have to do a second episode that's just the second bracket.
That we can do that.
We're already at 25 minutes.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
This next one I think is going to be a little bit shorter, personally, but if not, then hey, that's whatever. So we got If You Pray Right from Ginger against Heaven Belongs to You from Ginger. I put If You Pray Right.
I put If You Pray Right.
I feel like that's one of the stronger songs on the album. And Heaven Belongs to You is a really cool
Heaven Belongs to You is an amazing part of the album. It's an amazing song. It's not a Brockhampton song.
Yeah, the slow tie slaps.
There's not a single Brockhampton member on that track except for slow tie. I mean, like, it's only slow tie. He's not in the band.
And that's
which is cool. I like when artists do that.
Yeah.
But it's not a Brockhampton song. It's a slow tie song that Brockhampton is getting credit for.
I lump Heaven Belongs to You in the same box and category as like Something About Him and Liquid. It's one of those like 1.5 minute songs.
Yeah.
that it's essentially an interlude.
Yeah.
It
helps the album a lot.
Absolutely. I honestly, like, I never skip it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
I never skip it. Like, it's a great track, but If You Pray Right is just like one of those songs that, you know, I sound like a broken record at this point. You're probably going to be hearing it a lot more throughout this, but like whenever you hear that song, like that's a
Brockhampton song.
Like that is like everyone.
That
brings
is a
their
Brockhampton song.
So yeah, I'm cool to move on.
Yeah, we're moving. We're moving. If You Pray Right along.
And speaking of Something About Him, the next one is Something About Him against Love Me for Life. What you got?
I chose Something About Him.
I did too.
Yeah.
I really thought that this was going to be one that we disagreed on. Just in the sense,
we got some of those coming up. I can already tell.
I love Something About Him so much.
I think, just like you said before, it's something you hear on the album, and it's so good.
It's
not that Love Me for Life isn't good.
It's a skippable one for me.
Love Me for Life is a skippable song.
Yeah, and like, we kind of talked about this before. Like, with it really depends on Kevin's like monotone delivery with some tracks. You know, with his intro, I find myself daydreaming a little bit, and it's not that like what he's talking about isn't great and stuff, but like I kind of start daydreaming. Joba comes in. I just feel like his delivery gets a little old at some point because like he has like that drawn out stuff with his verse. He sounds great. It's not that. Merlin comes in and kills it like he does on most of Ginger.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Bareface closes it out and it's good. But like, I just get like such a good feeling when I listen to Something About Him. And it's another one of those tracks where I'm like, I just feel like Kevin and I are like hanging out on a couch at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And we're like going into like our feelings and stuff. And he's just telling me about this guy.
Driving by again.
Anyway, he's just telling me about this guy he really likes and stuff, and like kind of like the process in that.
There's a lot of Brockhampton songs I think that are going to get brought up that they feel like conversations. I feel like, you know, there's a lot of songs that are a Brockhampton song, and then there are others where it feels like you are sitting down and these vocalists are opening up to you.
Yeah.
And I think Something About Him is one of those songs.
Cool.
So we're gonna move Something About Him.
I'm pleasantly surprised that we agreed on that.
Oh, you wait.
I know, but I'm taking my wins as I can, you know. So this next one I have a star next to
Wait and Tape.
Yes.
Interesting. What'd you pick?
I picked Wait.
I picked Wait as well. Wait's one of my favorite Brockhampton songs.
Yeah, Wait is definitely one of my favorite Brockhampton songs, but I think Tape is severely underrated.
That's fair.
I think the production is crazy on that one. And these two are both very, very vulnerable and very expressive.
I'm going to be honest. I don't have any stars in this round.
Really?
Yeah, in all of round 2, I have no stars.
I have a good bit of stars. But
I think I only have in total like 5 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I only have 5 stars, and only one of them is on this bracket. The other 4 are on BH Songs 2.
That's fantastic. But basically, like, what persuaded me to make this decision was just the fact that, like, Wait is one of my absolute favorite Brockhampton songs. I remember I actually put, like, over the summer, I was working this job that was very boring, and I had just, like, a lot of time to kill. So I did one of those question things on my Instagram. And like, it was you actually who was just like, name me like the most underrated Brockhampton song or something like that. And I said I didn't necessarily think that Wait was underrated. I just don't think it gets appreciated enough. The intro with Kevin is
it's another song where they're all opening up to you.
Absolutely, and like, oh my God, it's just so good. And like the production too, it's ridiculous. And like last year I had a lot of like, I wouldn't say that I was like in a bad place, but like I knew that like my mental health could be better.
Right.
And there were so many times where I would listen to Wait and I just felt like the whole song is a roller coaster, and it just encapsulated how I was feeling about my life at that point. And especially like whenever Joba's part comes in towards the end with his auto-tune vocals, and the lyrics are like, pressure makes me lash back, wish I could get past that. Like that part, I get like goosebumps every time I hear that part, just because of like how much it helped me through that time period.
The part of the song that always like gave me goosebumps, it was what hooked me at first, was Dom's verse. When he says, my mother called me today, she said she felt my energy a country away. Yeah,
which is dope, because like they recorded that album in Abbey Road Studios. But yeah, man, just everything about that track is fantastic. But like Tape is every time I hear Tape, because I don't go back to it a ton, but every time I listen to it, I'm like, why don't I listen to this more? Like, I don't know, but
I mean, every artist has those. I think a common thing I'll run into when I listen to albums or even artists for the first time is there are songs I'll not ignore, but like they're not my favorite at the time, and then somehow over time that song just grows on me so much to the point where I'm like, wow, why have I never fully paid attention to this song?
Absolutely. It's just weird, because like the first time I listened to Iridescence, I was like, Tape's going to be one of those songs.
Yeah.
And then like it still is. It's not that, but like
that
this is another one of those cases where if it was up against something else, it would probably win. You know what I mean?
It's just the way the bracket generated it.
So Wait is moving on, and the next set of songs are Where the Cash At from Iridescence and Gold from Saturation 1. What you got?
I picked Gold.
I picked Gold as well. I love Where the Cash At, and I was telling
Where the Cash At is great.
It hits, it slaps, and like, I don't know, like what I remember, like the first time I heard it, like I just wanted to get up and start dancing, and I just like
you
really
just want to like
freak
dance
out, really badly, and just like
throwing your arms, no like concise movements. No. You're just going.
I love it. It's a good one to bump in the car, but like Gold is just one of those.
Gold is a Brockhampton song.
It's one of those where it's like, give me some Brockhampton songs to listen to, and that's going to be one of those. I
think before Ginger and Iridescence came out, when it was just the Saturation trilogy, I think Gold is a song that could pull a lot of people into Brockhampton.
Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, that's one of like, when I was getting into Brockhampton, that was one of the songs that my friends would constantly play.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what pulled me in, especially Dom's verse. But I think everyone. If they think like what's a good Dom verse, they're gonna choose Gold.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he has a lot of good verses to pick from, but I think everyone kind of goes back to Gold at some point.
Yeah, because like that's it. I've been listening to BH for a minute now, and like Jake's listened to him for a while too. But like whenever we became roommates and stuff, you know, I would talk about him a lot, and I was just like, look, you're not gonna find a bad Don McLennan verse. You know what I mean? And like, you know, I would go as far to say like there isn't a lot of bad verses in the Brockhampton discography anyway.
Yeah.
But there are some that I like more than others.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're never gonna find a bad one from Dom. I mean, he never feels out of place in anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, anyway.
So you know what? Gold moves on.
Gold's gonna move on.
Yeah.
So this next one, I also have a star by.
You have a star by Star versus Dearly Departed?
Yes. And mainly the only reason I have a star by it is because Star was the first Brockhampton song that I ever...
Well, wait, what song did you pick?
I picked Dearly Departed. Okay. Star was the first Brockhampton song I ever heard, and so that has a special place in my heart. And I still love the song. Like, I love the wordplay that they have. I mean, obviously, like, you know, the song's name is Star, and they have like a bunch of celebrity bars that affiliate with it and stuff. And they have like some of my favorite lines in the Brockhampton discography anyway. But goddamn, man, like Dearly Departed
is powerful.
Powerful, like
the first time you really listen to that song, you just kind of sit there and you're like, wow.
Some of the, whenever a album comes out that Jake and I both are really excited to listen to, we play it on our TV and we sit on the couch and we just kind of listen to it together.
Yeah.
And like we were on Twitter and we like saw some people talking about like just wait till you get to Dearly Departed. And I was like, okay, like, well, look.
I remember like specifically seeing like, man, Dom went in on Dearly Departed.
Yeah, and like
I was expecting it to be like he rapped fast or something. And no, I mean, like he rapped still like pretty fast, but like that was Dom opening up and getting
and like I think what's so cool about that song is like, you know, obviously I think Dom's verse gets a lot of the attention because of how powerful it is and how it has to do with like the Amir Van situation and stuff like that. But each member comes in with a very personal.
I think Matt's gets overlooked a lot.
I
think it's because it doesn't really pertain to the Amir situation so much as like he talks about losing his grandparents, like his grandparents passing away.
Yeah.
Incredibly powerful. Everyone can relate to like the death of a family member. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very serious.
Yeah. But yeah, Dearly Departed moves on.
I mean, Dearly Departed ends with Dom being so mad he throws the mic on the ground and leaves the recording studio by slamming the door.
I was watching an interview and like HK was like, "You still owe me for those."
Yeah, like when you realize that's him throwing the mic and then slamming the door, that was the moment where I was like, "Oh my god!"
Wow. Yeah, you know, it's definitely a heavy track, but like also the production's fantastic. You know what I mean? Like,
so, wait, I just realized that if he like broke the mic, he also almost broke the camera for the music video.
Yeah. Yeah,
he like kicks the camera a lot. I remember Ashlyn, their videographer, was like, Dom almost broke the camera for this music video."
Maybe that's what I was thinking.
That might be it.
I can't remember.
But it wouldn't surprise me if you almost broke a mic. Mics are pretty.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out Dearly Departed, definitely do it. Like it's definitely a good one. But yeah, Dearly Departed over Star. Sorry, Star. You have a special place in my heart, but that song is just like.
This next matchup is the one I told you we are not going to agree on. I could already tell from the second I did my bracket.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and take that.
So this next one is New Orleans from Iridescence versus Sugar from Ginger. Mm-hmm. I picked New Orleans.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
This, you know what? I didn't write it down. I should have put a star next to this one because Sugar is amazing. Sugar's great. It didn't deserve to go up against New Orleans.
Go into why you picked New Orleans.
It's the intro of the album. The intro of the actual song just has so much energy that it pulls me in more than Sugar would. Sugar's great. Sugar's a nice, I don't want to say ballad because it feels weird to call a rap song a ballad, but it's like R&B is a better way to put it. Mm-hmm. New Orleans is rap. It pulls me in. Dom specifically with his intro. I can't say his intro because it has a lot of N-word usage and I'm not going to do that. But it's just like you hear it and you're like, oh, I'm ready to go crazy.
It's definitely hype. Definitely hype. And that versus, like it's great, you know? Yeah, I disagree though. I disagree entirely. I think I just like whenever I think of New Orleans, like it's not even my favorite intro in their whole discography. You know what I mean?
It's probably not mine either, but I think
and like me as a Brockhampton fan, I love it when they make hype stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? But what pulls me in to Brockhampton a lot of time is like their feel good.
I was gonna say I think you and I get pulled into Brockhampton for different things.
Yeah. So like
I think you're a lot more. Not that you don't like rap, obviously. Like you gotta love rap to like Brockhampton. But absolutely. I think you are a lot more interested in like the singing aspects of Brockhampton at times.
I don't necessarily. I have other artists that I go to if I want more of like a rap feel. Yeah. A lot of times.
I'm in this for the rap group. I want to hear rapping, especially from someone like Dom.
Absolutely. But I mean, Dom gives you that on Sugar though too.
Yeah.
You know. And like,
but it's not as hype as New Orleans. I'm fine if like for our consensus bracket we pick Sugar. Sugar is a good song.
And I think that
for my own personal bracket, I definitely pick New Orleans.
Absolutely. And but like you know me standing up for Sugar again. If you think of a Brockhampton track, I feel like the narrative is going to go towards Sugar now. You know what I mean? Like when a lot of people, like whenever I talk about Ginger with people, they're like, this is the Brockhampton that's like here to stay. Like this is like the direction that they're heading in as opposed to like an Iridescence. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, But I think we kind of agree that in Iridescence, they didn't really know where they were headed.
Absolutely. And I'll be completely honest. Iridescence is my favorite Brockhampton album in their whole discography.
That's a hot take.
I would love for them to keep.
It's a hot take.
It is, but like, just for me personally, like I understand why it's not other people.
Yeah,
but like
I don't think it deserves the hate that it gets.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like I don't want to say that Brockhampton has a worst album because they're all so good.
Right.
And it feels weird to call any of them a worst album, but I don't think Iridescence is their worst album. I'm not going to say worst. Like it's definitely not their least good album.
Yeah, it's not at the bottom. But I just think that, and it's like pulling teeth here. Like the fact that I had to go up against New Orleans sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if I want to get hyped to a Brockhampton song, it's not even the first one that I go to. New Orleans is.
That's
like,
fair.
It's like
I think it's different get hype. Like there's get hype like Boogie, which I'm sure we'll get to later. I don't know if it's in this bracket. It might be in the other bracket. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Boogie's a get hype, like we're going to get hype and dance type song. New Orleans is like get hype because we're going to fight.
We're going to break some
Like
shit.
we're going to throw hands.
Yeah. And you know what? That's the thing is just like
not that I'm getting in fights. Let me clarify that.
But and that's the thing, like what we said before, like, you know, we're not going to agree on everything, and that's completely cool. And it's not like New Orleans is a bad pick. Like New Orleans is a fantastic song, and it kicks off Iridescence very well. And like I completely understand, like kind of like what we talked about. Like we kind of go to Brockhampton for two different things and stuff. Like there's not a lot of Brockhampton songs I don't like, so like I'm cool with everything. But Sugar's definitely one of those songs.
I think Sugar's the one that that's gonna move on in our consensus bracket.
You know, I mean, I'm obviously cool with that. Yeah. But cool. So Sugar's going on for our consensus bracket, but
we are halfway through round 2 now.
Cool.
We're 45 minutes in. 40 minutes in. 40 minutes.
Hey, you know what? This is what we live for.
This is gonna be like a 5-part series.
I'm about it, man. I love the journey. Take me there. All right. So next up, where are we at?
It's Boys versus Jover.
I picked Jover.
Wait. Yeah. I'm sorry. I had the brackets. Yeah, it's Boys versus Jover. I also picked Jover.
Yeah, I don't think this one's going to be very long.
Just like Jover versus Ginger, I didn't think Jover. Like I got to Boys versus Jover when Jover moved on, and I was like, oh, that's pretty easy.
I think so. Back to last week on my Instagram story, I was like, you know what to do, send me questions, and Jake sent me, what do you think is one of the more overrated Brockhampton songs, or like what's one that you don't really go to?
Yeah.
And Boys was that one, and it's not that I don't like it. Like I can listen to it and enjoy it, but like it's just one I don't consistently go back to. Like the chorus to me is like I like it now, but like it's taken me a long time to actually like enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I said, we've talked about Jover a decent bit already, so we won't really go back and
dwell on it.
Yeah, Jover over Boys. Cool. All right, the next two are Thug Life from Iridescence and St. Percy from Ginger. What you got?
I picked St. Percy.
I picked St. Percy as well. I love Thug Life though. I put a star by this. I put a star by it because like I just, to your point about New Orleans coming in just like heated and stuff, I love that Thug Life is so beautiful and just the bitter opposite of New Orleans. And like whenever I listen to New Orleans, like I feel like I have to listen to Thug Life after.
You gotta balance it out.
I gotta balance it out.
Yeah.
But you know, I love Dom's verse on it, and I love Bareface on it and stuff. So like, you know, it kind of sucked doing this one, but like St. Percy was like another one of those songs that like, you know, it feels like a Brockhampton track. Yeah. You know, like you get something solid from everyone on there, except Joe, because Joe was not on.
Right.
You know, we kind of talked about Kevin's vocals being a little bit more monotone on it, but like it fits this track more, I feel.
St. Percy.
Yeah. And like, if you ever get the fantastic chance to go see them live, they have a different version of it that they do live, and it's like a lot more hype. You know what I mean?
A lot more hype than it already is.
And that's Jake and I have had conversations about how Merlin can kind of get like not like a bad rap.
Not a bad rap. I just think he gets mistaken. I think people don't take him as seriously as he deserves.
Case in point is St. Percy. So if y'all didn't know,
well, first Merlin's part in St. Percy is him yelling, "Murder man, someone better hold me before the shit gets ugly," and then he just keeps saying "murder man, murder man."
Yeah, and like it's hype as fuck. It's a typical like Merlin's coming in, going off.
He's gonna go crazy. The energy he brings is just this crazy energy that I think gets focused on a lot.
But like he in an interview that they did with MTV recently, he talked about how that verse is about one of his friends that had passed away. Supposedly, what was it from? What did they say it was?
I don't know what they said, but they ruled it as a suicide, and Merlin is pretty sure his friend was actually murdered. He didn't kill himself.
And I think that's really funny too. Not
that the death was funny.
Not the death part's funny.
It's
in the
interesting
context,
to think like him just going crazy in this verse and getting everyone pulled in because it's like so energetic is actually about like a death that he thinks was incorrectly ruled.
Like the crazy part about this song too is in that same interview, Kevin was like, basically there gets a point into our albums where we make a bunch of songs and there's not enough like rap songs. So we need to like focus on making like rap songs now. And everyone except for Merlin talked about like, yeah, this was just me like having fun on a track. And then Merlin was like,
yeah, my friend died.
Right. So like that part alone just like makes that track like so much more dense to me, But like but to everyone else, like everyone else is just having fun on it, and you can kind of all get that feel.
Did a great job on the album,
right?
Or on that song, also on the album, but on that song.
So yeah, St. Percy
moves on
over Thug Life. So this next set of tracks is Vivid from Iridescence and Heat from Saturation 1. I picked Heat.
I also picked Heat.
I love Vivid. Vivid's a good one. I think it's not one of their standout tracks, but definitely not a bad one. I mean, it can get you hyped, but there's not a lot more songs on the Brockhampton discography that can get you hyped like Heat.
Right. So. Heat it pulls you in.
Well, and like that's the first song off Saturation 1. For a lot of people, that was the first time hearing Brockhampton and stuff. And just thinking about that, it's insane to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool.
So Heat moves on.
Over Vivid. And this next one I feel like is going to be pretty short.
Yeah.
This is when Loophole gets put in. It's Loophole against No Halo. No Halo, I got.
Yeah, it was No Halo.
No Halo's fantastic. It's the opener off of Ginger. It's another one of those very personal and vulnerable tracks and stuff, but the production's great as well. And like kind of like going back to what we said about Merlin before. Like
I was just about to say the same thing. It's another time where Merlin doesn't have a verse where he's like going crazy and yelling. He's opening up.
And like just kind of going back into like Brockhampton's like ability to do storytelling, man. Like I don't necessarily relate to everything that they're talking about. Like
Not
specifically on Joba's verse. Like he starts off like went to church for the hell of it, stumbled in drunk as shit. Like
can't relate to that.
Can't say I've ever done that.
Yeah.
But it paints this picture of like where he's at and like where he's at like personally and like mentally. Mm-hmm. That's like dang, man. You know what I mean? So like it's just wild. It sets the tone for Ginger too.
Yeah.
It fits it so well. But yeah, so No Halo. Loophole's cool though.
Loophole's
it's a cool.
I think of any like interim song that they have on their albums, I think Loophole's probably my favorite of them.
Definitely my favorite one. And it's like that's a personal one too. Like talking about how like where they're at in terms of like where they were before.
Yeah.
In terms of like what their mindset is about like their life in the music industry,
right?
But
so No Halo moves on.
Mm-hmm. And this next one sucked
This was
so
a
bad.
hard decision to make.
This one,
You know what? It was so hard. I didn't make it. I didn't do it. I didn't make the decision. The next one is Fabric versus District. No.
I'm mad.
So the next one is Fabric versus District, both off of Iridescence. Okay, let me defend myself here. It's Fabric versus District, but the match after this is Boy Bye versus Honey. And I knew that no matter who won between Fabric or District, in my mind they weren't gonna beat Boy Bye or Honey. And I was like, you know what? I should have drew a star, but I didn't draw a star. I was like, it doesn't matter because they're both great. I just gonna save myself the decision because they're gonna lose in the next round.
That's so funny. I love that so much. Well, I guess I'll take this one. I picked District at the end of the day.
So District's gonna move on.
District's gonna move on. I'll just talk. I'm gonna give Fabric the respect that it deserves, though. Fabric is another one of those songs off of Iridescence that like I think back to in the sense of like I was like not in the best place last year, and like I would go to Fabric and I would be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This just fits my mood. Not necessarily lyric wise, but like the beat and just like how they were,
the tone more than
the tone of it more than anything. Like that song, it sucks that it had to go up against District, but District is just like that's a song when I think of Iridescence, like that's
a go-to. Yeah.
That's like, it's, that one is hype as hell.
Yeah.
But like the subject matter again is just like, it's very personal but like, dude, I think what seals it in is just like the production for me, because like it has everything.
Yeah.
Like it has those abrasive beats that Iridescence offers, but like whenever like the latter half of the song comes in and it's like a lot more peaceful, not like peaceful, but like it's a lot more mellow, and like Bareface's verse comes in and stuff. Like I love it to death, man. But yeah, that one was definitely a hard one. So District is going to be
District
moving
moves
on. And this next one, it wasn't necessarily as hard for me, but like I know that like these next two songs like are two of Jake's favorites.
Yeah, this was hard for me. So the next one is Boy Bye from Ginger versus Honey from Iridescence.
And like, so a little bit of story time. Jake and I, along with our friend Brian, went and saw Brockhampton in Cleveland this past December. And whenever Honey started playing, like I looked over at Jake and like his jaw like dropped. You know what I mean? So that's one of those songs that I wasn't necessarily like thinking that they were gonna perform.
I really wasn't either. Honey, for a long time, was my favorite Brockhampton song, and I think
it's a good one, man.
I think right now, like where I'm at in my life, Honey, I think is my third favorite Brockhampton song.
Got you.
So I also I wasn't expecting much Iridescence at the show.
Yeah, right.
So when they played Honey, of all of Iridescence, like they played Honey, my jaw dropped and I got hyped. I was also sick.
Jake was like
some stomach bug. I threw up 7 pounds of my body weight. I lost 7 pounds from being sick, and I still drove 4 hours to get back in time for us to go see Brockhampton. We did miss the opening act, but we still saw Slow Tie and then Brockhampton.
Hell yeah, brother. But yeah, so I had Boy Bye going though.
I did pick Boy Bye though. I just think that's, not only do I think that's a Brockhampton song, I think that's like this one of the songs of Ginger.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I think we talked about how like if you remove it from the context of the album, like it's still so good.
And yeah, that's what this one came back to for me. Like if you take Boy Bye away from Ginger, like I don't like it significantly.
You don't like Ginger as much?
Yeah. And that's not that like Honey isn't important to Iridescence album, but you could take it away and like I would still
think the tone of Iridescence would mostly stick if you took out Honey.
Absolutely.
Whereas I think if you took out Boy Bye from Ginger, it would change it a lot. Right. I also think this was a time where the music video was just so good. I'm going to talk about, there's a specific scene when specific shot when Kevin Abstract starts rapping and it's just a close up of him, and he's surrounded by lighters. And as he raps, one by one, the lighters go out. And I think of that shot about once a week because it was so well done.
Yeah.
Also, I think that's one of my favorite Kevin verses ever.
Oh, it's so good. So good. He's also then like after the shot that you were talking about, it goes into him and he has his shirt off and he's looking hot as shit.
He just looks jacked. Like I, for some reason, never realized he's just ripped.
Right, exactly. But yeah, so Boy Bye beats Honey. The next one was 1997 Diana going up against Big Boy. And personally, I picked Big Boy.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I picked Big Boy just in the sense that 97 Diana is like, it might be my least favorite out of those.
The 90s songs, as I keep
singles.
referring to them as.
And like, and not that it's bad, but like, I honestly kind of forget about Diana a lot. And Big Boy is like one of those songs that where like I listen to Joba's verse and I'm like taken away. Like,
I specifically remember after Ginger came out, like walking somewhere and listening to it. And once I like really paid attention to Joba's verse in Big Boy, I texted Spencer and I was like, this is underrated.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. I missed out on this.
Right. But that's the thing is just like, it kind of starts off with one, like, you know, Kevin's like more like, it's not even that it's like monotone. It's just a little bit more slow.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit, I don't know. But then even like, I love Bareface's part, like too. Like I love me some Bareface with some auto-tune and stuff. And you get both the super like drowned out and auto-tune and then his vocals in his second part.
Yeah.
And I just love it so much. But yeah, you know, I definitely think 97 Diana's a good track. It's not bad. It's fun. But like, personally for me, I go back to Big Boy more too. So
yeah, you know what? We can have Big Boy move on.
Cool. Okay, so this is the next one is the last
thing of round 2. I think we should stop recording after this one.
Okay,
because it has been an hour, and then we can save the recording, and then we'll just start another one and finish the rest of the bracket.
Yeah, sounds good to me, man. So okay, so what did you pick for the last one?
The last one is San Marcos from Iridescence versus I've Been Born Again from Ginger.
What you got?
I picked San Marcos.
I did as well.
Yeah.
I did as well. San Marcos is just definitely one of those songs that I feel is definitely needed on Iridescence.
I agree completely.
It's one of those feel-good Brockhampton songs, you know? Like it takes me back to like listening to like
it's a sing-songy Brockhampton song, but like I was gonna say it's good. All of them are good. That's the whole point of this bracket system,
right? Yeah, and I think it's just like it's one of those that's like super personal and stuff, and like I can put myself into basically each one of their verses.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
and then the other thing we keep bringing up is like if you remove a song from the context of the album. Mm-hmm. I've Been Born Again was the first single for Ginger, and I didn't like it.
Yeah. Right.
And then once the album actually came out, I loved I've Been Born Again within the context of the album. Yeah. But when it was on its own as a single, I really didn't like it I don't know what it was. Just for some reason, it didn't get me.
Like, I liked it. I just knew it wasn't like their best work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I mean, right after that, they put out If You Pray Right, and that was amazing.
Right. Yeah, man. And that's, I keep talking about this. And you're going to get a lot of this with me when it comes to Iridescence. But like, I just thinking back to last year and where I was at, like San Marcos was just like that song too. And they have, what's it called? They performed a live version. If you look it up on YouTube, like a version on YouTube, and you look up the San Marcos version, like, personally, I like that version better than the studio version because I feel like it fits like the subject matter a little bit more. It has a women's choir in the background, and it's just like it's essentially like all piano and this women's choir, and oh my god, it's beautiful. Like, it's so good. Please check it out if you haven't. But yeah, San Marcos is going.
San Marcos moves on. So
All right, yeah.
right now for our consensus bracket, the first match in round 3 will be 1999 Wildfire versus 1998 Truman. Second round is If You Pray Right By or versus Something About Him. Third is Weight versus Gold. Fourth is Dearly Departed versus Sugar. Fifth is Jover versus St. Percy. Seventh is Heat versus No Halo. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. 7th is District versus Boy Bye. And then 8 is Big Boy versus San Marcos.
Rock on, man.
All right, we're going to stop recording. And then
right,
we
y'all.
will
See
pick
you
right
in the
back
next
up.
one.
Yeah.
If you made it this far,
If you made it this far, thanks,
for
because
you.
we just talked about Brockhampton for an hour. This is a niche episode, huh?